Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to reflect on how Boris Johnson should be in real political trouble yet again over his mishandling of the new Indian variant, which now appears to be the dominant variant in the UK. But not only isn't he in immediate trouble, but recent past experience might even suggest he will somehow turn his boobery to his advantage. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So, in pursuit of a Brexit deal with India, Boris Johnson refused to implement travel restrictions between the UK and India, despite the news of a worrying variant over there that seemed to be highly transmissible. Eventually, Johnson was forced to add India to the so-called red list, but not before the variant had already been detected in the UK, and also, despite it being added to the red list, we've still got direct flights from India to the UK happening right now. I suppose people would think, oh, not to worry. It's only been found in a few places, except, of course, we had that with the Kent variant. And I was pondering last week about that. You know, like we have the Indian variant, the Brazilian variant, and so on. It's like with other variants, they're named after the country from which they originate. Did we produce the only variant that's not named after the country but an individual county? Is that because we're planning on producing more, I was thinking? And then my partner said, oh, they think they've found another one in Yorkshire. Nice one. Now, given how Johnson seems to get stronger with every COVID cock-up, this year at least, it went badly for him last year. I think it will go badly again in fact, it will go badly again this autumn. The polls are an absolute shambles at the moment. But come this autumn when we get another wave and he can't hide behind the vaccine, it'll come back to catch him. But right now, every cock-up seems to get stronger. But anyway, what we're talking about is a variant that is up to 50% more transmissible than the Kent variant, which was itself significantly more transmissible than the coronavirus we were messing about with a year ago. So we needed to get on top of it. Our test and trace, even a year later, is a complete joke. The government don't even talk about it. The government had to admit that the system wasn't able to track people down in time when we did discover this new variant in the country. But there was some good news. The variant was not especially resistant to the vaccine. The vaccine seems to be offering pretty good protection. You know, people that are vaccinated have got reasonable protection against it. And I have to keep pointing out at this point, not immunity, remember. I always feel I need to keep explaining this. The vaccine doesn't make us immune. It gives us a high level of protection. So if the entire population is fully vaccinated, or the vast majority of it, and we hadn't encouraged vaccine-resistant strains, then we could finally suppress the virus if we can get the other systems finally in place. We still have to do that because there'll still be people travelling into and out of the country. So there were then calls to accelerate vaccinations in the areas where the variant had been found. Right, okay, test and trace can't handle it. Let's vaccinate the people that this thing is spreading through. Younger people in particular in parts of the northwest of England who were most affected by it. Nah, said Johnson, not going to do that. What we'll do is instead, we'll accelerate vaccination of the over 50s in completely different parts of the country instead. And so now we have this variant is being believed to be the dominant variant now in the country. The 7-day moving average of new infections per day it's not screaming out of control by any means, but it is rising. And that's before we've seen the impact of the latest easing of lockdown restrictions. The calculation is presumably made that summer will help suppress infections. I mean, inevitably it will. Last year it did. We didn't really do anything last summer. We didn't have anything in place. The government said they did, but they didn't. It was just the season. You know, people were naturally outdoors where ventilation meant that infections were kept low. But will it be enough this year with a much more transmissible form of the virus? See, the final layers of the restriction are supposed to be removed on June 21st. But experts say that this surely can't be done as originally planned. So let us assume that the variant continues to get out of hand. Not that this is much of an assumption. If experts around the world are extremely concerned, we can already see the rise in new infections nationally, as well as surging in more localised regions and hospitals in trouble in some parts of the country. We know that we don't have a test and trace in position to clamp down on these flare-ups because it hasn't. The vaccination rollout continues to proceed well. That is the one big good news. And then, of course, that will help. But if that was proof against what is to come, if you could say, yeah, but everything, but the vaccine, Phil, the vaccine, the experts wouldn't be concerned, would they? Because they'll just be thinking, well, the vaccine's proceeding, we may get away with this. No one's saying that. We wouldn't be having such palpable concern from experts if that were the case. And it also seems reasonable that the government know that we are headed for some worrying times. Not just because they have their own team of experts keeping them informed, also offering solutions, but that's irrelevant because the government never follow those advice, no matter how strong. But because of a delay in the government's update on COVID status certification. Now, Paul Cotterill, who's a frequent commentator on health-related matters in politics, spotted something quite interesting. The government are 3 weeks late in reporting on COVID status certification. This is the idea that some people should be permitted more freedoms based on vaccination status as a way of minimising risk without having wider restrictions than might be strictly necessary. So you can imagine the situation. So what we had last year, and we may well have this again this year, and I'm not arguing against it, is rather than have, say, national restrictions in place, you could say, well, this part of the country needs them, but this part of the country doesn't. So, we'll play it by ear, we'll do things region by region. So that's one way, that's fine. Another way is to say, well, these people are at much higher risk of contracting and spreading the virus. So there should be restrictions, not so much on a region by region basis, but a person by person basis. Now, this is a very thorny issue and it's a source of genuine debate. I'm not going to go into the rights and wrongs here. That's not what I'm going to talk about. The point is the opposition to it can come from many places, but will absolutely definitely come from libertarians in the Conservative Party. Again, without me saying whether that is a good or a bad thing, because there is a genuine debate to be had. Now, a delay in updating Parliament on the review could just be the sort of general incompetence that we've come to expect. However, if we take a look at how Johnson has perfected a system for taking action incredibly late every single time, every lockdown has been late. Now, this is partly because it has been vocally opposed by many Conservative MPs. So what Johnson has done is waited until the situation is so dire, so bad, until the hospitals have started to collapse, that it has become essential. He has waited until the public are screaming for the lockdown because hospitals are being overwhelmed and yet more operations and other treatments are being cancelled due to the surge in demand caused by serious COVID illnesses. The government want to introduce vaccine passports of a sort so that they can have restrictions in place for high-risk activities for high-risk people. In this case, unvaccinated people. At a time when it looked like the infection rate was in serious decline and summer was coming, which helped suppress the spread of the virus last year, as you'd expect, it would surely have been impossible to get his MPs on board with a scheme that said some people could go to a restaurant and others could not. It's bad enough for many of them that there are ever times when these places are closed, but to say that you can only enjoy what these people consider to be normal aspects of British life if you have the appropriate government-issued paperwork on you would be beyond the pale for many of these people. But what if the Indian variant caused a surge in new cases that threatened to create a serious third wave? And not in autumn, when we're definitely getting it, when we'd expect it, but summer. What if Johnson said to his MPs, look, we can't possibly peel back the remaining restrictions under these circumstances? It's absolute madness. But the risk is really for those who haven't yet been fully vaccinated. But everything's proceeding very well. Now, here's an idea. If we issue a certificate based on vaccination status, there'd be no problems with those people being exempt from those restrictions. And as that would mostly include older people from affluent Tory areas, that would mean mostly Conservative voters. Plus, you could be saying, but the vaccination program is going so well. Even for other people, it wouldn't last very long before they got their certification anyway. This is only a short-term thing to stop us having to put back the removal of the final restrictions. That could well be a way to swing his COVID status certification plan, and, if that is in his mind, would absolutely explain the delay of several weeks in reporting back to Parliament. Wait until the conditions are right to get MPs on board with it, and then push the issue. And from the hideously dangerous incompetence of allowing into an island nation a coronavirus variant that has outstripped the already more dangerous homegrown variant, Johnson gets another political win. Like a man throwing stones through everyone's windows, then going round the street the next day to advertise his glazing services. But there we are, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. Until next time, I'll see you later.